What's going on, my fellow A-plusers? Welcome back once again. It's your host, Adam Perez, back once again with a brand new video as Supergirl has in fact finally returned from its hiatus. No more hiatuses. We're going straight through to the finale of Supergirl. Not quite sure exactly when this season ends or wraps up, honestly, but can I be honest with you guys? I'm so glad that this show certainly has returned. Superman and Lois was absolutely fantastic. Stewart went ahead and did a fantastic job on his finale review that he went ahead and dropped for Superman and Lois last week, but Supergirl, the Woman of Steel, has in fact returned. And if you ask me, I thought we've had a great first half of this season so far, not only getting the opportunity to see Kara meeting up with her father Zor-El as she's in fact trapped inside of the Phantom Zone, but we also got the opportunity to see her super friends really shine as they had to go ahead and protect National City all by themselves pretty much. So I honestly thought everybody really got the opportunity to really put their best foot forward in the first half, and I think storytelling wise it really came through. I've had a lot of fun with this season so far. And now we're back, guys. I have no idea how this season is certainly going to end, but I'm really enjoying the pieces and the groundwork that they're certainly laying for us as we get into the remainder aspect of this particular season. You go right off the bat, guys. One of the things that I loved about this episode was the emotional sort of heartstrings that this episode immediately gave us. I thought the welcome home Kara little celebration was a great note, considering how long Kara and her friends have truly been separated from each other, the emotional struggle just to get each other back together. Now getting that opportunity to see everybody welcome her home, big smiles, little greetings here and there, really got me choked up. You know what I mean? Really got that like lump in my throat coming up sort of thing when I was watching this episode. I'm like, man, I'm literally 2 minutes in this episode. Don't make me cry already, guys. Okay, so I thought that was really great, because I know that some people probably had an issue with how the previous episode ended, because it literally ended as they wind up saving Kara and sort of, you know, flying back home, if you will. We really didn't get to see any reunions outside of Kara and Alex. This is in fact a reunion here, ladies and gentlemen, and so I thought it really kicked off and handled itself extremely well. And I even had a little bit of fun of seeing Brainiac bringing the cake to the apartment, all the little obstacles he had to do, all the little spins and jukes, just breaking ankles as he cuts through a taxi cab and walks across the street like seamlessly. I thought it was just a really fun sort of introduction to the rest of our team here, and really welcoming home Kara. So great stuff in regards to that. But overall, this episode, while it didn't punch me in regards to the action that it certainly wanted to provide, it was a little bit lackluster in that regards. They really did focus and highlight just the emotional and sort of mental toll that that it really took on this team, specifically Kara and Zor-El, with them being in the Phantom Zone, if you will. And I thought we wind up getting some really great sort of life lessons out of this episode. I mean, just towards the end when we've got Kara and Alex talking and she delivers this fantastic line, the only way out is through. Really just talking about the idea that you really have to confront the issues that you're dealing with, whether that's fear, loneliness, guilt. The worst thing that you can do as a human being is keep it deep down inside and not talk to anybody or not want to sort of experience those feelings. The only way to truly heal is you have to go through it, right? Like you have to feel those emotions. You have to guide yourself through them, learn from them, and hopefully become a stronger and better person for it, if you will, despite how difficult that certainly can be. So I thought that was a really great pivotal moment, especially because of the fact that when it comes to this episode, especially Kara and Zor-El, they really are sort of dealing with their own individual issues. Kara, on one hand, still like a PTSD, if you will, from her time inside of the Phantom Zone, afraid to kind of close her eyes, afraid of being scared. The thought of phantoms certainly frightened her, right? The idea of maybe not ever being able to see your friends again, feeling very helpless, if you will, right? She's still dealing with that, even to the point to where when we got Andrea wanting her to do a story on the attack of the Phantoms in National City, you see just a flood of memories of her her time in the Phantom Zone, and really how terrified it's really made her, right? She doesn't want to have to think about it or experience those feelings again. And so the notion of having to not only do this story, it really kind of terrifies her, if you will. And it's not only the story that really got to her, but just some of the things, whether that be going over to the DEO trash site, like just those little things throughout the episode that clearly sort of triggers her, if you will. But again, I love the fact that she realizes just how much it's just been on her mind all episode long, and towards the end where she really can't hold it in anymore, right? Like Alex doesn't even ask her to open up about her experience, probably thinking that in her own time Kara certainly would, and Kara just kind of comes out with it like a flood of emotions that she just kind of has to get off of her chest, and the fear that she certainly had to experience. And I did think it was a really great balance of not only showing Kara's fears of what happened and her idea of maybe losing everybody, but also seeing Alex in that predicament and her being able to relate to her sister, because we did see little brief flashbacks of when Alex tried to protect her sister in this episode, of the idea of losing her sister once again. She's clearly had to go through a ton of trials and tribulations just being a part of the DEO with her sister, right? Countless times have seen Supergirl either die or something terrible certainly happen to them. So I'm glad that just from a sisters and siblings point of view, that they're really able to balance each other out and really help each other kind of pave a way forward in regards to their emotions. So I really thought that was handled well and for this episode in regards to Kara, and just again the emotional and mental toll that she's definitely dealing with. Zor-El, on the other hand, played by Jason Behr, who comes back once again, reprises his role. I've really enjoyed him all season long, honestly. I feel like anything that I see him in general, while it's usually like television shows or made for TV movies sort of thing, I'm trying to think of if I've seen him on any movies like on streaming service or not. But I've always been a fan of Jason Behr ever since his Roswell days back on CW or whatever channel you guys certainly used to watch it on. But I really enjoyed that series. So to see him really just killing it in here as Zor-El, as Kara's father, I think has been great. It feels very much like this episode might be the last time that we see him, because at the end he decides to go back to Argo City, and selfishly, I would like to see him kind of return. But I had a fun time in this episode just seeing him adapt to Earth, wanting to stick around just a little bit longer to see what his daughter's been up to, right? Enjoy that father and daughter time outside of the Phantom Zone, if you will. So I do think it was really appropriate and fantastic that he stuck around for this episode, despite him really kind of causing some issues here, which I can definitely understand. I think for me, the issue, I don't want to say the issue that I have, but the issue that Zor-El seems to be struggling with is that idea of guilt, and that idea of maybe feeling like he didn't do enough, being really hard on himself. And I'm pretty sure the idea of being alone literally in the Phantom Zone for years really makes you like second guess a lot of your choices in your life, and what could have I certainly have done better in order to make those circumstances better, right? And granted, he went into the Phantom Zone not knowing that he wind up saving Krypton or how many lives he certainly saved in the process. But when you've had that much time to stew about it, it definitely makes you feel guilty and wanting to do everything that you can to make sure that you don't make that mistake again. So to see Zor-El be very sure of himself in the sense of, I've got to save Earth, even though he literally comes out and he spills the beans of saying, I can save Krypton, and he has to correct himself, because that's where his mindset is at, right? He sees all the things that went wrong on his planet, and almost in a weird sense of, I've got to do better, I've got to make sure that the same mistakes don't happen to Earth. He winds up really kind of pushing this plan of theirs, great plan to go ahead and clean up the ocean, but very forced and not necessarily well thought through or planned through this, if you will, because of his determination to just make things right. So it definitely made sense in regards to Zor-El's motivations as to why he would certainly want to go ahead and go this route, trying to protect the oceans, because clearly, based off of what he said on Krypton, the first thing that really showcased the disaster was them losing their oceans and their oceans sort of dying off. That really being the first point that wind up leading to his planet's sort of destruction, if you will. And of course, Zor-El and his new upgraded Helix don't necessarily make the situation any better in here. You know, I will say this, the one thing I do appreciate about Supergirl, and there are times I appreciate it and times that I don't, because sometimes it can be very in your face, right? We know that some people have issues with, sometimes our television shows dealing with like social topics or social issues, right, out there in the world. I really appreciate the fact that they really attack the idea of cleaning oceans in here. I mean, we are kind of going through a time period of where climate change is extremely important right now. We really have to kind of change up what we're doing, and it probably, for me, I think it probably is just stuck with me a little bit more watching this episode, because I literally watched like an ocean documentary series on Netflix like 2 or 3 months ago that really kind of showcased the downfall of the ocean and all the things that humanity is certainly doing to it in order to kind of make it fail, which kind of really made me appreciate even more, sort of a side note, William's story that he wind up doing on the ocean, right? We see Andreas really wanting to pin all the blame on Lex Luthor, when in the big scheme of things, while yes, Lex certainly is a problem, there is a massive sort of systematic failure in regards to how the oceans are treated, right? Like, it's not just one person doing this. It's everybody, whether that be the people that dump it, the people that allow it, the people that have certain regulations, that have loopholes to allow people to, to get away with that type of stuff. It's really a big systematic failure in regards to how we're taking care of our ocean, or lack thereof, sort of thing. So again, I think this hit just a little bit closer to home, because I literally watched the Netflix series on it like 3 or 4 months ago. But I appreciate them at least sort of bringing that to some sort of level of awareness for people, that there is a much bigger issue with it. Again, I would just recommend maybe checking out a couple ocean documentaries yourself to regards to it. But again, it is something that Supergirl tends to do as a series, and they definitely focused a little bit on that in this episode also. But I really enjoyed what some of the things that we got to do. They explored the Fortress of Solitude together, Kara along with Zor-El. I thought that was pretty fantastic. And again, he did decide to go ahead and head back to Argo City at the end of the day. I will say this, I don't necessarily know how this season ends, but with Kara's mom alive, Zor-El alive, and clearly going back to reunite with her, we even got sort of the storyline here of William now having a girlfriend. Hallelujah. It feels like they've sort of gotten rid of that storyline, you know what I mean? So this kind of frees up Supergirl to do whatever she certainly wants to, because if you ask me, I don't necessarily need like a Supergirl finds love at the end of the season sort of thing. I wouldn't mind her just finishing off the season with whatever storylines that she certainly has, saving the day, or being this superhero that people will always sort of remember type thing. I don't necessarily know if I need like a romance arc to finish off this season, you know what I mean? And so, like, when it comes to the ending of this series, I personally would, and this is just me, I personally would love to see Supergirl, one, have a happy ending, but I really would like to see Mon-El return. I can't remember if I've seen him in set photos for like the finale or the big farewell. I do believe Mon-El certainly returns. There is a part of me that wants to see Supergirl leave Earth. And whether that be go back to wherever Mon-El's at, or go be with her family, her real mom and dad, that's something that I personally would really like to see. And, you know, speaking of which, because I believe I saw her at some funeral pictures. No, then again, I thought that was, I think that's actually Melissa Benoist as Kara Danvers. I was going to say, wouldn't it be crazy if the funeral or everybody in black, if they came for Kara's funeral, like if she pretended to kill herself off just so that her as Supergirl can go maybe back to Argo City, be with her mom, be with her dad, have Mon-El by their side, and maybe have some, you know, Kryptonite, Kryptonian, Daxamite children for all we know. That's the type of mindset that I personally would like to see for her. Maybe her even travel into the future, become a part of the Legion of Superheroes. You guys know I've been a really big proponent of a spin-off Legion of Superheroes television show, which I doubt that we're going to get. But just seeing how some of the storylines are trying to wrap up this season, the return of her father, I really would love to have some sort of happy ending with Supergirl, and maybe that just consists of her going back home. I will say this side mission in regard, honorable mention in regards to William. So it does look like the creative team took their relationship storyline and just threw it out the window as quickly as possible. You know, the idea of her coming back after having such a long hiatus from CatCo, getting the opportunity to see William once again, who looks like he's been eating some of his own baked goods. Now seeing him dating somebody by the name of Mary. I love the fact that he literally just spilt all the beans in that very first sort of conversation with Kara, right? Like she says, let's go grab some coffee. He's like, hold up 1 minute, girl. Don't be trying to come in here and steal me from somebody. You need to know I got a girlfriend now, okay? And I'm very happy and didn't even miss you at all, Kara, okay? I clearly just moved on. And apparently, I think he said that she wound up beating him in the baking contest. It clearly shows. I don't know if William got a little bit chunky around the cheeks, and so this creative team was like, William, you're not this perfectly chiseled man that we remember from the beginning of the season that did everything perfectly. So I am wondering if that had anything to do with it. But listen, congratulations to you, William. Somebody clearly fell for your perfection. And that's one less thing that we as a viewer have to worry about in regards to Kara. I think it's a great decision, honestly, especially with it being the end of the season. Couple quick honorable mentions also. Andrea and CatCo. I find it really interesting here. She clearly wants Kara to do a story on the Phantoms that wind up attacking the city, and she really has the plan now to go ahead and turn CatCo around. She wants CatCo to now be more breaking news, more hard-hitting news with incredible journalism and things like that. And the question that I would ask Andrea, wasn't that what CatCo was before you brought your cheap ass self into the building? Because last time I recall, Andrea, you wanted like CatCo to turn into BuzzFeed and shit, like little snippets of daily life and living and what makes things pop and clickbait shit. Where CatCo's at right now is all you're doing. So talk about a big flip-flopping ass bitch to all of a sudden want to now change CatCo into what it originally was. Well, maybe if you hadn't changed it in the first place, you probably would still be in at least the top 5. At least the top 5. Top 8 now? Psh, get out of here. Top 5. So this is all Andrea's doing. I really don't feel bad for her in the least bit. I know everything clearly came back and had the blowback in her face because of her, accusations towards Lex Luthor, which she clearly seems to continue to be on that bandwagon for. And I'm hoping that she winds up jumping off of it at some point in time. She did use her abilities in here to go into Lex's office and wind up discovering more about the Super Friends. And now, because she wants these breaking news and hard-hitting news stories, now she's got William doing some detective work to try and figure out who some of these superheroes are and really do gigantic pieces on them and really allow National City to kind of truly learn about the Super Friends that certainly provide for them. So I'm curious as to where that story's going. It seems lighthearted and good intentions at one point, but just seeing where Andrea's mindset is at, how focused she is on Lex, infiltrating his place, I do wonder if she's got ulterior motives as to how she uses the stories that William will present to her about these superheroes. I'm hoping that's not the case, but we'll definitely see what happens. We also get the opportunity to see that Lena decides to head home. Clearly her moment on the ship in regards to dealing with nightmares and fears in the mid-season finale has really triggered her to go back home to learn more about her family, and especially when it comes to Nia Nal in here, I'm curious as to what the end game is for her storyline. Also, she's still struggling with the idea of missing her mom, and I feel like that's been an overarching story for her all season. You know, the idea of her going back into time with Brainy certainly didn't help. Talk about temptation, then having to deal with it in like a dream sequence for the mid-season finale doesn't help either. So I am curious as to what the end game is going to be for Nia Nal's story. Does she try and go back in time? Does she try and bring her mom back to life? There definitely seems to be something missing for Nia, and I'm kind of curious as to what extent she'll go to certainly get it back, or will she go through something for the remainder of this season that'll at least allow her to have some type of closure in regards to it. So again, I thought they did a great job in regards to at least giving us some questions as to what we can tackle as the season progresses. I mean, we even see Nia waking up at the end of this episode in like a nightmare stage, talking about Nixley, because of the fact that Nixley wound up escaping from Phantom Zone also, and we haven't seen her in this episode, or at least I don't believe that we have. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with Lena along with Nia as well as the remainder of this season progresses. But overall, again, it didn't knock me off my ass in regards to action sequence. It was a little bit lackluster in regards to that. But for me, I think all the money in this episode was all about welcoming Kara home, pulling at the heartstrings, and really seeing the emotional and mental toll that it wind up taking on quite a few of these characters in here. So we'll see what happens as the season goes, guys. But as always, we'll certainly continue to be here for you on a weekly basis to bring you guys reviews for Supergirl. So if you're looking for a home, feel free to click that subscribe button, click that like button as well if you love our content, and click that bell notification too, so when we do drop brand new videos, you'll certainly be notified. But until next week, guys, we'll certainly see you then. If anything, I will try and have these up a little bit earlier for you guys on Wednesday mornings. With Supergirl starting, or airing Tuesday evenings, I like to try and watch the episode live so I can take notes and record that evening, and then maybe have these videos up for you guys around noon or sometime in the afternoon on Wednesdays. So I apologize if this is dropping a little bit late on Wednesday. If anything, I'll try and get it to you guys a little bit earlier next week. But until then, do me a big favor, guys. As always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and as always, keep it A+. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.